Welcome to the Finding a Talented Crew panel. My name is Devin DeVries. I'm the VP of Production at Indie Books International. And joining me today is Brian Gerstner, Sue MacArthur, Nona Prather, and Karl Sakas. And just to start us off, the first question is, tell us a little about who you are and what you do.
Well, as you heard, my name is Brian Gerstner. I'm the president of White Label IQ, and we provide hybrid offshoring for design and development and paid media services. So a lot of it is our ability to bring specialized skill sets, particularly in the development area, to agencies where maybe there's more of a unicorn type approach where agencies are able to wear more hats internally, but we like to be able to bring people who have like higher degrees of skill and area in places where agencies typically can't have them on staff. So.
Thanks, Brian. Sue MacArthur with Strategic Talent Management. And at STM, we help agency owners solve their people challenges so that they can spend more time managing and growing their agencies. And people are weird, so business is always interesting. A little bit about me personally, I am a wine nerd and I'm studying for my level 1 sommelier certification. And I collect antique cocktail shakers. If you notice a theme there, I'll let you make your own assumptions.
Hi, I'm Nona Prather, and I own and run a booking agency for professional speakers and consultants. And I started working in the industry a long time ago when I was just a child and have continued the love of the industry. And fun fact about me is when the pandemic happened and I was let go from the bureau because things just weren't happening, not because I did anything wrong, but just things were ending. And my husband lost his job a week later. So we sold everything within 17 days, including our house, all of our belongings, our cars, and we bought a big RV and a truck, and we went and traveled around the world where nobody else was traveling, so it was great. And now we just bought a house in Age of Fire, New Mexico, so we're settling back down now.
Hi, Karl Sakas, agency advisor at Sakas & Company. My team and I help agency owners find ways to work less and earn more while rewarding their best team members. Because if the owner's working less, someone's doing the work, but that also means they're going to get a promotion. My fun fact is that I volunteer as a bartender on an antique train, mixing martinis at 100 miles an hour.
Oh, wow. That's so fun.
Lovely. And I'm actually a partner in a pre-made cocktail company, so we all have a lot to chat about.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to do with people.
I also have left my credit card in New Orleans at the bar at the Cocktail Museum. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll have you kick off the next question, Karl. So what are your top tips for attracting top talent?
I would get clear on what your business has to offer the right candidates. During the Great Resignation, a lot of agencies were concerned about big companies, the FANG companies and so on, recruiting employees or competing, right? Where they were like, well, I might join you, but Facebook Meta has way more money to offer. Don't get into a bidding match with huge companies that have more money but don't have the experience that you provide. Running your agency or your business, people have opportunities to get more experience. They can do a wider variety of things. They get better, closer exposure to leadership rather than being, 8 layers below the CEO. That resonates for the right person. Let the big companies take the employees that maybe you wouldn't want to have or wouldn't be quite a match for you. Focus on reinforcing and sharing what you have to offer for the right people.
So my business would not have grown what it has grown to in the last 4 years if it wasn't for my team. And I am fortunate to say that the team that works with me I check in with them on a regular basis and make sure they're still happy with what they're doing, they're not burnt out, and I only have them work 30 to 35 hours a week rather than 40. And I just really want to be their favorite boss. And I think I've achieved that because in the last 4 years, the 12 people who do work for me have been with me the entire time. And even one person came back after she had her baby and said, okay, I stayed home for a year. I want to come work with you again. And I think the secret to a happy workplace is to really respect them and what their expertise are. Use them for their area of genius as well. So I say, if you're not enjoying this job, what would you rather do? How do you think you can help grow my business as well? And also because 10 out of my 12 employees live in the Philippines, I also pay them pretty well. So there's, instead of going to Fiverr for $2 an hour, pay them $10 to $12 an hour and get and they all have college degrees. They're all very smart people. And so they've been instrumental in my business, so much so that I even started helping other speakers. So speakers like John O'Brien came to me and said, I need help. How did you find your VAs? They seem to be really great. And so I started a VA matchup service as well. So that's the booking agency is my silver butter knife steak, but my side salad is the VA matchup service. And so it's been going really well, and people really like it because they come to me, I vet them, I make sure that they are in their area of genius, and I say, okay, so what are your needs for your VA? What do you calendar, social media, writing, what is exactly are you needing? And then I pinpoint 3 people that are in my roster that are working for me on a regular basis that I have trained in the speaking industry to work with my business. And then we help match them up with the exact right person. So if you need help finding a VA, we can help you. And I love helping people grow their business. And this is just another avenue that I found was a great way to do that. And so talk to John about it, because he's been a client for 8-9 months, something like that. And he just told me he's still very happy. So it's a win for me.
Well, I think, as agency people, you all know what a unique value proposition is. How many times do you use that when you're reaching out to candidates? Your image when you go out looking for talent should be very much in line with your culture and your brand. And I'll give you an example of a mismatch. I was working with a client, very relaxed culture. They do entertainment and travel marketing, and very much a family culture. But the first interaction candidates had with them was an employee application that started with 2 pages of legal disclaimers. Was that in line with their brand? Absolutely not. What was the impression they were giving candidates is that this was going to be a place where somebody was going to have their thumb on them all the time. And it wasn't being successful for them, and they were wondering why they weren't getting the right people. Well, there's part of the answer. So my advice is to always make sure that there's an alignment with who you are, what your values are, and what your brand is.
As we look to attract talent, as Sue was saying, the inside culture has a lot to do with it. And that has a lot to do for us because, number one, we want to retain talent. So when we looked about attracting talent, it is a lot also finding the people within the organization that we can kind of create a leadership track. So looking internally first, because while high performers are incredibly valuable, a lot of times the loyalty and the clarity and the understanding of knowing where we're going is more valuable. When it does come to us like attracting talent from the outside, the culture is incredibly helpful because it has to be reinforced as we introduce them to people with inside of the agency. But also a lot of times we're not attracting the talent. If we want somebody where there is a real strong talent or performance requirement, we have to go find them. Usually the top performers are not filling out applications and showing up at our doorstep. So it's at that point where culture really comes into play to kind of, once they kind of knock on we knock on their door, they start to build that desire and interest at that point.
Well, you mentioned one thing about developing them and retaining them. That kind of leads into the next question. You have them, you've attracted them, you have them. What tips do you have for kind of developing them, keeping them happy, wanting to stay with you?
I wish I said I had a great, well, perfectly set out structure and leadership programs, which we are putting together, but I am finding a lot of it has to do with providing clarity. I think someone said, and I can't remember exactly, but never let anybody run out of future. And that is the true thing. If you can provide hope and future for people, they will show up for you if they know how. And to do that, it is a lot about clarity. I know, like, when I was growing up through the career, and maybe this is just me remembering it differently, but it was sort of like I wanted to be there. I drove, I asked for everything. But I think it's really important within organizations to really be clear about, this is what I need you to do. This is what the business needs. This is, how you can grow. And if you can provide that future for people, they'll show up. And a lot of times when you feel people are underperforming, I'm finding it's really because I haven't been clear about what I need from them. So it's not really their lack of desire and hunger and drive. It's like, their intentions are good, but they don't necessarily know what the business needs from them all the time. So that clarity and future is a great way to get them to show up.
To piggyback on something Brian just said, and I just lost that train of thought. Anyway, what I was going to say is, people can't meet or exceed your expectations if they're not clear what they are. And the same goes for their expectations of you as their employer. So we're big proponents of doing regular stay interviews. You've all heard of the exit interview. We do more stay interviews. The same type of interview designed to prevent the exit. We are very often asking in interviews of new employees, what are your aspirations? What is your 5 or 10-year plan? When was the last time we asked our long-term employers that same question? When was the last time we asked them, do you have all the resources that you need? Do you see a future here? Is there something that you are really good at that you haven't had an opportunity to bring to this company that would be really useful for the agency? Questions like that are really engaging, gives them an opportunity to speak up and help you identify what their career path is and help them feel like they're being heard and that there's potential for them in your organization.
You know how Jamie was talking about the Expressory, her business, and how she runs a business where she regularly sends things to clients so that you can keep them top of mind and happy. Well, I do the same thing for my team members as well. So like we have a monthly meeting where everyone gets together. I pay for them to have an office space at a coffee spot. I pay for their coffee, which is literally like $20 in the Philippines, but it's like the exchange rate's so little. And so I just give little incentives, and then we meet on a regular basis and talk about our pipeline. And then I don't know if this works for other people, maybe you guys don't agree, but I'm also very open about how our business is doing, how much we made this month, how much, what our goals are, how many people, they know what our business is making. They don't know my personal finances, but they know the business because I keep it on a sheet where everyone can access it. And honestly, since I started doing that, because I started doing that in about June, so it's been a little over 6 months now, I have seen production go up higher because I feel like they have a goal, they can see it. I'm very open book. They know they can come talk to me about anything if they have any concerns, because I am so open with them about everything, and having those regular check-ins, giving them little incentives and bonuses if they make a really good connection that could possibly lead into a booking for a client. Like, I will reward them for that. So just like what Jamie says, don't only just think about your clients when you're sending like gifts and things, but your team needs to be known that they're appreciated as well. And that's the way that I do that.
A lot of themes around conversations, talking with team members. For me, the key is to make it a habit. I do weekly one-on-one meetings with each direct report, and then my direct reports meet with their direct reports each week. And I follow the manager tools format. That's manager-tools.com. The idea is that you meet once a week for 30 minutes, with each of your direct reports. And it's a 10-10-10 format. 10 minutes about whatever the team member wants to discuss, 10 minutes about whatever you as the manager want to discuss, and 10 minutes at the end talking about their future. That could be longer term projects or initiatives they're working on, what they need to do toward their next promotion, what have you. That part about asking the employee what they want to talk about, I had a new team member join. At the time, she was about mid-30s, and we did that format, and she said, this is the first time a boss has asked me what I wanted to talk about. It was sad, but not uncommon. But you, as a leader and a manager, can choose the kind of business you want to run. Not the one that you've worked for everyone before, just because they were sort of running things out of their own habit. You can create new habits, but talk about your team members' future in some way on a continuous basis.
Thanks. A lot of really great tips there. Really like a stay interview. Never heard that before. Whole list of questions on the website. And that website is?
strategictalentmgmt.com.
Thank you so much. Okay, for the last question, there's a lot of talk about companies switching people from work from home to must come back to the office right away and issues like that. So if you want to speak to that or what are kind of the hot button issues that you're seeing on employees' minds right now that we should be aware of?
I recently wrote an article about 2030 predictions. Where will agencies be in 2030? And identified 19 things. One of the things that came up was around what is the impact of return to office for large corporations? What is the impact of remote work on developing early career employees? I'm a big fan of remote work, but you don't have those kind of hallway conversations for someone who just graduated, someone who just started. That's also going to impact mid-career employees. For instance, if someone graduated in 2020, as the pandemic started, in 2030, they'll have been working for 10 years. What have they picked up along the way? Will they be ready to help you and your agency and your clients? I don't know. But there may also be an opportunity for you to recruit team members that you never could have afforded or never would have joined you before. Agencies have a tendency to pay less than corporate roles, partly because the corporate work is kind of boring and you have to pay for it. But there are surveys saying that people will take a pay cut to work remotely. This may combine in an interesting way where you can afford great team members who wouldn't have joined you before, but because if you can offer them remote, either fully remote or hybrid work, it'll make it worth it for them and it becomes a win-win.
When 2020 happened and the speaker bureau was, on a pause, we had an office and we worked out of an office and there was people together. And then I started working from home and I was like, wow, this is great. And I didn't really implement Zoom before that, but now my entire team is all virtual. Like everyone's spread all over the place. Not only, I have a lot of them in Cebu, but I also have one in Austin, one in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm in New Mexico. So we're not in the same space, but we still work really well together. And and you can still feel like you're together when you get on a Zoom call and have those things and still have those meaningful conversations. So I feel like it's the wave of the future, and I don't think people are going to be working from home a lot more, and I am all for it. I personally love it. I got my dogs there. I can, if I want to go grab a drink in the middle of the day, because it's like, you can make your own rules, and as long as you get your stuff done, and that's what I tell my client or my workers actually. I said, y'all, I don't care what you do as long as you get your stuff done. Like my executive assistant, Beth, she works from noon to 9 because that's what she just likes. She likes to sleep in. That's fine with me. My other assistant, Allie, she works on Saturdays and takes off Mondays. I don't care as long as you get your stuff done. And so putting that trust in them can be a little difficult when you're not, there's a lot of micromanagers out there that want to see what all their employees are doing. But just, they're adults. They went through college. they were able to do it themselves. They can figure out how to work from home too. And if they don't, have a conversation with them about it, but trust that they're going to get their stuff done. And I think me trusting them, all of my team, it makes it so they respect me as well because I respect them. So.
I don't think that the remote scenario is right for every business, but I do think that every business should consider it as an option. And it may be on a position by position basis. There are some things that just can't be done as well remotely, and that's okay. The good news about remote work is your talent pool is much larger. For example, I recently did 2 searches, similar position. One was remote. In 48 hours, I got over 400 applicants. The other one was on site, and in 4 weeks, I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for 40 applicants. So the good news is it really opens up the world as your pool of potential talent. The bad news is you're also competing with the rest of the world. And you're competing with markets that pay a lot more than your local market would perhaps pay. So it really is a process of analyzing what's important to you and how, if you are going to be doing remote hiring, how do you make yourself unique and special to be able to compete with the rest of the world for that talent? So that would be my piece of wisdom.
So I'll say the initials that come up in everyone. So AI has changed it. The baseline is a lot higher than it's ever been. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of conversation about coming back in office. And as you said, I mean, there are things that need to be done together, but I don't believe it. I believe the future is embracing remote work. The key is with AI here, you know, the mediocrity is being beaten out of us. The baseline's higher, so we have to search for talent. If we're going to deliver higher amounts of strategy, you have to find the people where they are, and they're going to have more demands. So, like, remote work is something that we all need to embrace. There's more tools and ways to do it, but I think if we want to stay competitive, we are going to have to embrace it. Just period. I look at all the come into office talk that's been happening, and I just don't buy it as the future for us.
All right. Well, please help me give it up for our panelists, Karl Sakas, Nona Prather, Sue MacArthur, and Brian Gerstner.